Hey y'all, welcome to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
Io sono Una O'Leary.
Wait. That doesn't sound like American. That does not sound appropriate. Una, what are you talking about?
I'm talking the Italians.
Oh no, is this because things in Italy have gotten very weird?
They've gotten gaslight, gatekeeping, girl boss
Oh no.
so quickly.
I'm very excited for that. We've talked about this a little bit about every once in a while when international politics decides to do a screwy thing. You're just gonna hop in and tell me about it. So this is like a small little test run of that, I guess.
Yeah, let's test run.
Yeah. Hit me with terrible news.
Oh my God. Well, okay. So Giorgia Meloni, and I admittedly still don't understand how parliamentary voting occurs. But I will say, because I think it's incredibly keeping with our podcast, this was one of the lowest voting records in Italian history.
God.
But she is, I guess, the head, or at least like the now winning spokesperson for Fratelli d'Italia, which is the Italian Brotherhood. And I feel like anytime there's brotherhood in your party name, that is a giant ass red flag. Run away.
The last time I know that you can use the word Fratelli in something is the band the Fratellis, and then you're just stuck to Chicago Blackhawks games, and that's it. We can't let you out.
That's fascinating, because I just see it as like this stamp on any bag of pasta coming out of Italy. It's like Fratelli, Toscana.
Please forget that Mario Batali started this. I will pay you money.
But yeah, they won the party Fratelli d'Italia. It should not shock anyone, has neo-fascist origins, and it's very like, I don't know, it's one of those things where it's like, it is Italy, and even though every white woman of a certain class distinction you meet has two wolves inside of her, and one wolf is January Jones as Betty Draper screaming, "I speak Italian." How important does it really play out on the big international scale in terms, especially when you have Germany or England deserve much more center stage, but it's not great in terms of like the quickening of these neo-fascist groups like taking power in countries in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been like, oh, she's got this great quote, "Ho un rapporto sereno con il fascismo." I have a peaceful relationship with fascism.
No.
Yeah, she said that. She said it out loud.
That's not a majority that gets to say that, Una.
It's also one of those things where it's like, that alone is like a bad enough soundbite, but then like she does explain what it means. Like, I consider it to be an important period in our national history. Mussolini made many errors, race laws, getting involved with the war, and establishing an authoritarian system. Historically, he did a lot, but that doesn't save him. And it's like, so what are you gonna like? So you're just bringing the softer side of fascism?
Are you just not going to get caught? Is that your plan? I'm going to ban meat hooks.
It's very, yeah, it's like if Marjorie Taylor Greene suddenly won the presidency here, I feel like, or Lauren Boebert. That's what Italy has to look forward to now. And then of course you see like all the like signs being held up by very, very old Italian men saying like, I was born under Mussolini. I don't want to die under Meloni.
Oh God. Yeah.
It's not great, because this is like fascismo. This is the epicenter.
I have been wondering why Twitter's new game this week seems to be just reducing Benito Mussolini's granddaughter to tears and rage.
Yeah.
That answers a lot.
Yep.
God damn it.
I would know more, except like I speak Italian. So I did try to go to like Corriere della Sera and try to read up. And the problem is that like the color schemes there are reversed, and the blue is like the center right, and there's a yellow, and I don't know what that is except like a warning on the soccer field. So yeah. I think the biggest takeaway for Americans who might like glance a little bit over there and wonder what the fuck's going on is like, lowest record of voters, people.
Yeah.
Lowest record of voters. There is no third party that can outrank people not voting.
Yeah, 100%.
In the pie chart.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't make me feel good about, Marie Le Pen running for the 18th time and somehow winning this time around.
Exactly.
And I don't like Viktor Orban having friends. That man, he's thrived without friends. It seems like what he likes. this.
I don't like having to feel like the Kennedy administration while looking at South Asia in terms of Europe. I'm just like, this is a domino effect, people.
Yeah, it's definitely you shoved a bunch of canaries in Europe and there's like one freaking out a lot in Spain. Wait, no, Spain, yeah, Spain's got like a nationalist party too. I don't know. I'm way behind on I used to pay attention to that quite a bit. All I know now is that there's in Chile there's a woman who dresses up as Pikachu and she's in the house.
Good for her.
Yeah, I think Tia
That's
Pikachu,
nice.
maybe Abuela Pikachu, family relation Pikachu.
Oh, Abuela
Yeah, she did
Pikachu.
a Naruto run at one point in the house. She seems
You're
fine.
saying words and I'm nodding like I know what
She
they
did an
mean.
anime meme
Okay.
in front of men in suits,
I'm
which I think is
extremely
the
on.
best thing anyone
This
can
is
achieve in life.
That's great. I
Yeah.
love this. But yeah, Maloney. It's
God.
not Chris Maloney,
I
sadly.
mean, if
Georgia
only.
Maloney.
If we could just clone Chris Maloney. For those of you who don't know, he was in Law and Order SVU. He's in Wet Hot American Summer. He's currently
Yeah.
in Harley Quinn playing Commissioner James Gordon as like a drunk loser, and it's
His butt
amazing.
in jeans feature prominently in my dreams.
Yes, yes. And it's like if he was in charge of a lot of things, yeah, things would probably at least be not worse. I don't think he'd love the job, but that's why we make clones.
Yeah, I don't know. There are American actors. George Clooney lives in Italy pretty much full time.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is he doing?
I don't know.
Anyway,
He's like finding coffee beans for an espresso, I guess.
yes, that is literally what he's doing, and pranking Brad Pitt.
God, yeah. What a life. Well, fuck. That's a depressing way to start. But thank you, Una. I'm very excited for future international intrigue,
I know.
especially as things keep getting worse. But you know what? I actually have a perfect balance to that.
Ooh.
Today is going to be a good one. Trademark, copyright, a good one. So, one of the great traditions of American history is that often the biggest and most unique milestones tend to be kind of pushed aside and wholly forgotten. And as such, today we're going to be talking about a major bit of recent history that has been chided as unimportant and or completely forgotten about. But to set the foundation for the story, we kind of have to go back to the 1940s to talk about the most exciting topic I can think of, flood mitigation.
Are we going to Chinatown?
No, no, we're not. Potentially the most opposite of either New York City, Chicago, or San Francisco Chinatown. In 1943, the Missouri River experienced a year of flooding that resulted in just widespread dedication from April to June. It's estimated that during that month period, at least one part of the river was incredibly flooded at some point in time. I was trying to find more information on it. It's mostly kind of in library records and things like that that aren't online, but I was able to find pictures of the town of Joplin, Missouri, just the entire main street underwater, the town of Cape Girardeau completely flooded out, and also the Omaha Municipal Airport completely underwater. So after that, the government was like, hey, we should probably do something about that. And when you need someone to design a way out of terrible disaster, there's only one organization you can call in America, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Army Corps.
And so a pair of plans would emerge in 1944 to deal with this consistent issue of flooding. Because this isn't the first year they've had terrible flooding on the Missouri. It's just the first year that they could do something about it, I would assume. So the first plan that came out was headed up by Colonel Lewis A. Pick. He would propose that the Corps construct 1,500 miles of levees from Sioux City, Iowa, all the way to where the Missouri meets the Mississippi. And then to support those levees, they would create 18 new dams along the Missouri River and its tributaries. 5 of those dams would also be used to create hydroelectric power. And in total, it would cost $490 million to complete, or $8.2 billion in today's money.
Damn.
Yeah. So, I mean, I imagine that's not a great budget to bring in front of FDR in the middle of a war, but I mean, you have the Tennessee Valley Authority. It's not like they're not doing these projects in other places.
Yeah, and it's just like I'm sure they were also riding on the idea maybe that's just like the WPA was just like a couple of years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
but we still got some change. The economy's booming now.
Yeah.
Let's do
We're paying
this.
Americans to build shit we need. It's almost like it's a good idea we should keep for many, many years.
Oh, it hurts.
And so the other plan that came out was created by William G. Sloan, who is the assistant director of the Bureau of Reclamation, specifically their regional office in Montana. The Bureau had been working on their own study about floods for a few years, but after hearing the Army Corps was ready building a plan, they had to hurry things up so that the research wouldn't go to waste and be completely ignored. The Bureau's plan was about 211 pages and was a lot more focused on irrigation, hydroelectric power, and reservoir creation, with the extra benefit of if we do these things, then we can mitigate flood damage in the future. Their plan would also cost a lot more, $1.26 billion or $21.2 billion in today's money.
Wow, we really used to spend money on things
It used to
for
be infrastructure week
people.
all the time.
My God, infrastructure month.
Oh man, if only. And so in 1944, the Bureau and the Army Corps of Engineers came together in Omaha to work on a compromise for both plans. And then in the end, they just pretty much smushed them both together and only kicked out a small percentage. Essentially, they were like, here are 5 dams we don't have to do. And so the final plan would include 107 new dams, 1,500 miles of levees, 4.7 million acres of irrigation, and dams would create 1.6 million kilowatts in electric power. And somehow they were able to get the budget down to $200 million. Between 1946 and 1966, 6 major dams would be built along the Missouri River, which created 6 brand new lakes. Problem, though, is that those new lakes had to go somewhere. And thanks to a little thing called eminent domain, the government essentially said, hey, this is where the lakes are going to be, so it's ours now.
No.
And these aren't small lakes. These are huge fucking lakes. One in particular, I believe, would end up becoming the second largest freshwater reservoir in the world.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Do you know what the first is?
No, I don't.
I just assume it's somewhere in
It
Russia.
is the Mediterranean Sea.
You said freshwater.
Look, Gibraltar's a dam. It's still one of my favorite bad ideas. They wanted to dam up the Strait of Gibraltar to essentially drain out the Mediterranean Sea and turn it into farmland.
Who did?
I want to say it was some plan during the 50s. It was like
yeah. And all the beavers collectively were like, you crazy bastards.
They fucking did it. I can't believe they did it. Venice would be so pissed off. Here's our town of ditches. Hey, have one of our guys get a 4-wheeler and you can drive you around while singing songs.
Ooh.
I mean, come to think of it, that actually sounds like a lot of fun. So they create these dams, and via eminent domain, they're able to claim all this sudden lake land, lake water. And funny enough, where those lakes ended up occurring almost universally were on land dedicated to Native American reservations.
No.
Yeah, we're going there. In total, 350,000 acres of reservation land had been seized by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and flooded for the sake of flood mitigation, electric power, and irrigation.
No.
And before you get any hope, of course, none of the 7 reservations affected by this had ever been consulted in the plan or the resulting law that would be passed to make these dams official.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I would be surprised if they did in the year 2022 of our Lord.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The more I read this, the more I was like, oh, it's still just as bad. There's just better PR. So, plenty of reasons why this plan was so devastating for the reservations it affected. For one, I don't know if you know this, rivers tend to create really good farmland after a millennia. And when you flood over that land, the land surrounding it just doesn't automatically become really good farmland. It takes time. And so in creating these lakes, you destroyed the best farmland on these reservations and then told people to pack up and go somewhere else and try. Also, people tend to really like to live next to rivers. You know, it's got the best farmland. It's a natural site for transportation of goods. Waters are loaded with fish. Water is fun. It's relaxing. And so communities can establish themselves for centuries and become vastly important to the culture of the people, which is a long way of saying it's where a majority of the people lived in these reservations. For example, when the Garrison Dam was built in North Dakota and created Lake Sacagawea, 10 villages would be destroyed and 90% of the people in the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation were forced to move to the freshly created Newtown.
They called it Newtown?
The Army Corps of Engineers called it Newtown.
No.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to remember what the portmanteau that the Fort Berthold people were planning. I know one of the towns that got gotten rid of was called Samish, and there was another one that started with V, so they wanted to call the new town Vanish.
That's nice.
It would have been pretty good, but yeah. They stuck with Newtown just because I think they were already putting it on the buildings, and it's not like the Army Corps of Engineers is there for notes, especially after building shit.
Yeah, they don't get a lot of creative miners in their ranks.
Are people dying? No? Fine. So in total, 900 families in the 7 reservations would be forced from their homes, including the family of our focus today. Faith Spotted Eagle was born in 1948 in Lake Andes, South Dakota, located on the Yankton Indian Reservation. She'd be raised by her father and grandmother in the village of White Swan. Her mother wasn't really there that much in her youth. It kind of sounds like she suffered from really, really tough postpartum, and during that time developed a devastating alcohol addiction to the point that she was kicked out of the household and told not to come back.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so Faith is raised entirely by her father and grandmother. But thanks to the building of the Fort Randall Dam, Faith and her family would be forced to move from White Swan to Lake Andes. The town would be flooded and create Lake Francis Case. And, fun fact, while the goal of the Pixlin project was to mitigate flood damage downriver, the town of Lake Andes still deals with regular flooding. In 2019 alone, the town spent the months of March through September dealing with floods that did not go away.
So this dam just fucks up an entire town and doesn't necessarily fix the whole problem.
But everyone's doing fine in Missouri. So, so Faith would spend her childhood in Lake Andes, where her family ensured that she would be able to remain close to her culture. This was highlighted by the fact that the family, whenever they were home, spoke solely in Lakota. She'd often go fishing with her father on Lake Francis Case, usually right above where White Swan used to be. And she would recall a story from when she was 8 years old. Her father would look out over the lake and tell her that one day it would be up to Faith to fix all the damage that had been done to her home and to her people. And Faith states that she mentally reacted to this the way that most 8-year-olds would. She thought, I'm 8. What do you want me to do?
Amen, Faith.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Faith got to focus on the joy of growing up in a very racist town.
Oh.
She would note that she always saw her dad wave at everyone he passed while driving, which is tradition in the country. But every white person in town that he waved at never once waved back to him.
I hate everything about this story so far.
It doesn't start great. It does not start great.
Okay.
So in 1962, she started high school where she was the only Indigenous student in her class of 30 people. She would occasionally make honor roll. It's not like she was a bad student. It was just, it's more what I recognize where it's like, I'll get honor roll. I'm not going to work super hard to get it, but if I get it, great. And a lot of that's just because she really hated high school quite a bit. She would often talk about dropping out, but credits her father's persistence to keep her there to at least get her high school degree. After graduating in 1966, she would enter Black Hills State College. During her freshman year, she called home to say that she wanted to drop out. So her dad said, you know what, you can do that, but you have to do one thing for me first. For this summer, I'm going to send you to live with your uncle in Storm Lake, Iowa. Get a job while you're there. Just, get a taste of what, the real life is like without a college diploma. And if after that you're still fine with it, drop out. I will support you the whole way. So she goes down to Iowa, gets a job at a turkey factory. Now,
Yikes.
I don't have any experience with turkey factories, but I have a hell of a lot of experience living near chicken farms.
Oh my God.
These stories that I heard from there are harrowing. It's still the worst smell I've ever smelled, and it's beating out paper mill.
Yeah.
It's horrific. Just the shit runoff, the pollution that comes from there is ever present.
Yeah.
And just
I would imagine too, if you care at all about any animal, it's just got to be like soul crushing.
Exactly. It is, unless you have just like shut down and you're like, I am just doing this to feed my family and it's the only option I have. So I'm going to ignore the life in front of me and just go on. I think that's about the only way you can do it, is just kind of shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Faith would say after 3 days, she thought she was going to die. And so she quit, went right back home and said, I am going back to college.
So, good job, Dad.
Yeah, it's that top tier dadding. This Faith's dad he sounds like a very excellent father always around.
Oh.
And so a quick detour. In 1986, Faith would briefly enter the world of beauty pageants. And I'm kind of exaggerating on that, but it's fun for the story. And by that, I mean she was nominated by a local coffee shop for the Lake Andes Fish Days Queen. So if you're from a bunch of little towns, each town will typically have a summer fair focusing around whatever the town thinks it's the world's best at. When it's really like, we're the top 5 in the county, it beats. Welcome to
a lot of it has to do with butter, like more towns than you would imagine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you make some solid butter, you can have a butter fest till the end of days. And for towns that I grew up in, like Hartford, Ohio, or Croton, depends when you were there, they don't have an anything festival. It's just like, it's a summer fair. Fucking deal with it.
Yeah. Eat too much fried food and go on this gravitron. Do it.
100%. Yeah. If you have never been to an old-fashioned small town summer fair, it's great. You got carnival rides run by inexperienced to scarily experienced individuals, carnival games that are guaranteed to be rigged from hell and back. You got fresh fried food all over the place. You have kids tractor pulls, which are still one of my favorite things, because they pedal tractors and they try to see how far they pull them. At the fish days, there's some rodeo stuff. They have fishing tournaments because it's all about walleye fish up there.
Yeah.
There's dancing, and then the local pageant to name the fish queen, and for the youngins, Lil Miss Fishy.
Stop!
Oh, it's called Lil Miss Fishy.
Stop! Are we in Lake Wobegon? I can't.
Look, that's more clever than anything Garrison Keillor would come up with. I both hate and love Little Miss Fishy because I feel like pageants are mostly like for popular mean girls. I could be wrong. And it'd be kind of fun to see a popular mean girl win Little Miss Fishy.
What would be terrible is if it were sponsored by Summer's Eve.
Oh my god, no. Yeah, that would also be yes. So one of my favorite things I actually saw, because I looked up the Fish Days website, they have something I'd never heard of before. Kids Demolition Derby.
The dream.
The baby redneck in me is so mad that I didn't get to do this. So instead of it being like a regular demolition derby where everyone buys a shitty station wagon and everyone hits each other at 20 miles an hour, instead of cars, kids use old Power Wheels. It doesn't look like anything ever breaks or gets hurt. They're just having a pretty grand old time. The one I watched was a strict 50-50 girls versus boys. It was like everyone was taking part in it.
Nice.
The dude
I want to do this now, like in my 30s.
Oh my god,
this sounds amazing.
The dude who waved the flag to start the event was standing in the middle, and out of nowhere, he is just like kneecapped by 50 Power Wheels, and he's just standing there laughing his ass off. It is one of the most adorable redneck things I've ever seen in my life. It is joyous.
I love it.
Yeah, and so that's where Faith is nominated to run for the Fish Queen.
Yes.
She does not win, but I'm told it's an honor just to be nominated.
Oh.
So in 1941, Faith would graduate and move on to grad school at the University of South Dakota. And it's here that she would find her calling, fighting for indigenous social causes. Funny enough, the first instance of this that I can find in newspapers was part of another pageant of sorts. The Wapaha Club, a student group with the goal of furthering education of Native students, held a pageant to crown Miss Wapaha. The winner would act as a ambassador for the club at student conferences and as a liaison to local schools. Faith would also lose this, but she would remain active in the Wapaha Club throughout her time at USD. In 1972, her work caught the attention of the South Dakota branch of the National Indian Education Association. Today, the NIEA is a powerhouse of a nonprofit. But when they brought Faith on to join their state's interim steering committee, they were about 3 years old and pretty small at the time. Faith would help coordinate indigenous education programs throughout the state, and this would begin a decades-long relationship that we will dip back on in a little bit later. By 1974, she was on the verge of graduating with her master's in educational psychology and counseling. But not only that, but she'd start dating the man who would be her future husband, Brian Collins, who at the time was studying biology. In the future, people would occasionally call her out for marrying a white man, but she says that whenever it's brought up that she didn't marry him because of his race, but because he holds the same ideals and morality that she does. Which, based on her bar of expectations, the guy must be wonderful. There was a side story where someone made a racist joke at a job that he had, and like the dude had his feet propped up and all of that, and he like knocked the chair under the dude's feet and like immediately confronted him.
Yes, we love to see an ally.
Yeah, he's like, I will fight at work, sir. But on the other end, she did talk about how often people would give her side eye and outward hostility when they went out in their college town of Vermilion. And this would come to a head on a night of drinking in 1974. Faith, Brian, and their friends Rhonda and Deborah were spending the night out. As they left a bar, 5 white men passed, then returned to confront them. And by that, I mean they beat the shit out of all 4 of them.
Holy God, what?
When the men left, Brian had a broken jaw, and Faith's leg had been broken.
Oh my God.
She recalled that when she begged one of the men to stop hitting her, he, quote, looked right through me. It was as if I were a non-entity. The 5 men would be charged with various versions of assault and battery, but it doesn't really seem like the local DA felt the need to charge anyone with criminal charges. The next year, Brian and Faith would get married and file a civil suit against 4 other 5 assailants. They sought $60,000 in damages, or $358,000 in today's money. The case would be settled in 1977, with the 4 men being found liable for the crimes they committed.
Good.
And they would get $2,000.
No!
Yep. Instead of the $60K, they got $2,000 for a broken jaw and a broken leg.
This is pre-tort reform bullshit too. Was it just
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say overt racism, if I had to make a guess. Throughout the trial, Faith would become a vital part of expanding the reach of the NIEA in South Dakota. In 1975, she served as a representative at local school board meetings for both the NIEA as well as the Coalition of Indian-Controlled School Boards. The next year, she had also taken on leading meetings on natural resources, and in 1977, she was named secretary of the South Dakota Indian Education Association. In the wake of the legal system, clearly not really taking her assault very seriously, despite her leg being literally broken, she would create the White Buffalo Calf Women's Society on the Rosebud Indian Reservation. The goal of the group was to build respect for women via Lakota teachings. That being said, it would be very ignorant of me to say that that's actually the sole reason that she created the group. So I want to reference a thesis paper written by Kimberly Dawn Robinson about this particular group. She notes through her thesis paper, Rewriting Herstory, 1 out of every 3 women in Native communities will be raped in their life. 3 out of every 4 will be physically assaulted. Native women are stalked at a rate of double to any other female demographic. And for Native women between the ages of 15 and 34, the third leading cause of death for them is murder.
Holy shit.
And at the time that the White Buffalo Calf Women's Society was founded, there were maybe 2 organizations throughout the entire state that even dealt with sexual or domestic violence of any sort. So Faith's work with her society would catch the attention of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. In particular, they were holding a conference on battery of women and chose to invite Faith to attend. Faith would have to decline this invitation and instead sent fellow grad student and society member Tilly Blackbear in her stead. When Tilly got there, she found that she was actually the only Indigenous person who'd been invited to attend out of 300 people. So while Tilly was there, she began meeting up with other women, and they found that they all had the same common concerns, not just of present issues they wanted solved, but also worries that this commission really wasn't going to do anything, that it was just, we're going to make some reports and then we'll see where it goes. So the small group of women started meeting in the men's room of this conference hall. And of this, they ended up creating a brand new nonprofit organization called the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, which is still incredibly powerful to this day.
Yeah.
And when Tilly returned, she would create the state branch, which today is called South Dakota Ending Domestic and Sexual Violence. Since 1978, they have seen the number of shelters and programs within their state expand from 3 to 31. As for the White Buffalo Calf Women's Society, they're still going strong to this day in the town of Mission. And in 1980, they founded the first ever shelter of its kind on a Native American reservation in the entire country. In 1979, Faith would be appointed to the State Advisory Committee of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, but it's not a job she would hold for very long. In 1980, her husband had been offered a job in Idaho to work as a wildlife biologist. And Faith would agree that it was just too good of an opportunity for him to pass up, so they moved. Their time in Idaho is kind of a bit of a black hole. I know that's where the racist joke event happened, but I do know for a time that Faith would spend time there as a principal for an alternative tribal school system. I'm also unsure if this happened before or after arriving in Idaho, but they would end up having 2 kids, a son and a daughter.
Oh, mazel.
In 1985, another opportunity would arise for Brian. He'd been working to try to get into law school, and he'd been accepted to Gonzaga University. And so once again, the family uprooted and moved to Spokane, Washington. And Faith would once again reinvent herself, and this time around opened a counseling practice with a focus on treating PTSD, substance use, and any violence-based trauma, which typically involved child abuse or sexual abuse. By 1991, her work would evolve into a new company that she dubbed Spotted Eagle and Associates. It was a business to aid Native-based human services and counsel them throughout their time. And she kicked things off with one hell of a landmine, and it might be my favorite, because free of charge, she offered some counseling for the New Age movement.
Oh,
So
boy.
we've talked a little bit about the New Age movement, our time here, predominantly brief moments about Helena Blavatsky and her belief in theosophy. But the one common thread from Blavatsky to now is an obsession with appropriating cultures under the guise of attaining ancient wisdom. For Helena, this meant Buddhism and anything related to Tibet. In the 1960s, this would begin to include indigenous cultures. Now, the theory behind why this became a thing, I'm going to be referencing Professor Suzanne Miskimen. A lot of her belief as to how this is formed is American culture has really developed the idea of the noble savage, if you will.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, the idea that, there is an ancient wisdom and, Native Americans in media are either bloodthirsty and violent, or they're old and full of ancient wisdom that white people just don't know about. There's like herbs and medicine and magic and, vision quests and things like that.
Yes. It's smooth brain, but with turquoise and silver jewelry.
Yes. And so around the 60s, you start getting counterculture hippies that are getting really into this shit. And a lot of them start getting really into like beads and feathers and a lot of indigenous iconography and wearing that sort of stuff around, accessories, if you will. And we can actually pinpoint that to being one person's fault.
Get out.
A dude named Carlos Castaneda wrote a book in 1968 called The Teachings of Don Juan. And it was a book about his time with the Yaqui people in Mexico. And while he was there, he served as a shaman's apprentice.
Oh, no. Why is it always an internship?
Yeah, I know. It's like, you get that internship with the Pope, you're doing You're getting coffee for the Vatican. It's a thing all religions have, I assume. But yeah, he's got his apprenticeship. He's learning from this shaman whose name I think was like Don Matos, but he decided to change it to Don Juan, I guess, for like,
Better
bring up that
SEO.
iconography.
I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah.
And so, yeah, his book ends up selling 8 million copies, is published in 17 languages, and today is regarded as a work of fiction, but at the time, he really didn't try to make people think that it was. And so it's this book presented as a nonfiction of him going down to Mexico, living with indigenous people, getting into peyote, and gaining a higher intelligence. And so after reading this book, you get all these counterculture hippies going to southwestern reservations and being like, hey, I'm here for peyote. Give me education.
Hi, I heard I could lose 5 pounds by going into a sweat lodge. One
Ooh,
admission, please.
don't even get me started on sweat lodge. All right, so a little bit of baby Dusty. So when I was in Boy Scouts, our scoutmaster was a member of the Lakota tribe, and so he was very big on teaching us a lot of things. And I did get to experience a bit of Lakota culture, including sweat lodges, which were, looking back, I don't know if that was appropriate. I was 12, so I'm, totally fine being told if it was not. But I do remember it just being this very peaceful sort of thing. And he was like, when you're in the sweat lodge, it's a bunch of teenage boys in a sweat lodge. He's just like, I don't want
smell terrible.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want any of you talking in there. It's like no roughhousing, no anything. It's like you're in there and you are thinking and you're using this as a chance to relax.
No dick jokes.
Yeah, and it was really wonderful. And I've never had water taste so good as drinking when you're in a sweat lodge. It's literally like stones that have been heated up in a fire, and then you take those stones, you put them in the middle of a pit in the middle of the sweat lodge, and you just pour water on top of it, and that's it. And it is so freaking hot, but so great. And yeah, I'm totally fine if people are like, yeah, you should not have done that, because I have taken communion when I shouldn't have. And learning youthful mistakes is important. But yeah, and so I got to grow up with a very strong love of that culture, and also a very strong idea of like, oh, here are things you don't do. And one of them is sweat lodge for entertainment.
Yeah, or as diet culture.
Not as fucking diet culture. No. Go to a Holiday Inn and sit in their sauna, you fuck. But yeah, and so yeah, we're talking about Carlos. So Carlos ends up kickstarting this thing where all these hippies start going to the Southwest reservations and like demanding peyote and knowledge. So the thing about Carlos, though, is people were able to spot his bullshit fairly quickly. For one, he was an undergrad at UCLA studying anthropology, and no one really knew how he could get down to Mexico and do all this research as an undergrad. That's more like grad school shit. Another person also noted that in his book, he never really used the Yaqui words for any of the plants or herbs that he was looking at. And these were things that were new to him, so he'd have to use the words that he was told by their shaman.
Hilarious.
Also, other people would note in the book that he's not really complaining about the various pests that are in the area that would be smothering him on a regular basis.
Amazing.
Yeah. Probably the real knife in the chest is that people were looking through some of his notes, and one person was like, hey, these are really similar to notes that C.S. Lewis made when he was in this region. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Give it a book. He's cribbing notes from C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis?
Yep. Yeah, Christian Science Lewis is down there, and he's having a time.
Mr. Don't, wait.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the Spanish version of The Lion, the Witch, and the Roar.
I
am stalling at even knowing if lion is male or female in verbiage.
So when he was all, don't recite the dark magic to me, witch.
Yeah.
It's because he was on peyote.
Yep, yeah. This fucking Bruja's telling me all this terrible shit. I gotta go.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I seriously doubt C.S. Lewis was doing peyote. I imagine he was there on a Christian mission, if I had to guess.
But Carlos was, and he kept a copy of C.S. Lewis's journal.
Look, I don't think he eventually would make it to Mexico. I don't know if he actually went there during the time that he claimed. Yeah, so he ends up getting a lot of money from this book. He wrote 2 sequels, retired from public view in 1973, bought a huge apartment complex in Los Angeles. Tell me when you get a red flag here.
Oh, no.
No. Invited a number of his undergrad friends to join him in escaping the public to live in this apartment complex. And started an indigenous shamanism movement that he would call Tensegrity.
Stop it.
Yep, Carlos went and made a cult. One of the key tenets of this cult is that you should completely destroy any personal history. So members would repeatedly change their names and cut off contact completely. Cult shit. You're just doing peyote in Westwood. What could be better?
No. I really thought this was going to end with, and now It's the
Oh my
Scientology
God.
building on
If
Franklin.
if goddamn only.
Congratulations.
Now, this is like he did not go far from the UCLA campus to start this. He saw an apartment building near the school, was like, it's cheap enough. Let's start it.
I'm thinking less and less of our friend Carlos because you get book money and you don't get a house in the hills.
Nope, nope.
You're not
I'm
even in Brentwood.
no, he's getting that apartment complex that you saw when you were all drunk. We're like, wouldn't it be fucking cool if we owned that place, man?
This is so small-minded.
Una, it's near an In and Out. I don't know what you want.
Oh my
It's
God.
near that ice cream cookie place that you could get them for like $3.50.
Don't you
They're
dare
fucking
say a
huge.
bad word about my religion.
So to make things even better, Carlos would die in 1998, which led to his four closest associates, all women, to disappear. Three of them have never been seen since. One would be found in 2003 as a bleached out skeleton in Death Valley.
Stop.
Essentially, people believe that the four just walked into the desert and died.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for something different, mostly because I just long for the days when you could disappear.
Yeah, right? So, normal shit
Oh my
kicked off
God.
the New Age obsession with indigenous culture.
Right.
But look, there's another way that you can go the New Age
Yeah,
instead
it's
of,
called Burning Man.
like, you don't have to like pretend that you've dove into a culture and that you've gained all this knowledge. The other route that you can take is kind of taking that I'm 1/20th Cherokee, my great grandmother was an Indian princess trope, and just
Oh,
jack it full of as many steroids as you can.
a classic.
I
Who
don't have
among
to
us hasn't?
I don't have to learn this knowledge. I already have it.
I am this knowledge.
I am not. Fuck off. And so another example that can be brought up for this is a fellow by the name of Jamake Highwater, who fits the bill of the portmanteau pretendian. Jamake would write 30 books of fiction and nonfiction and was marketed as a Cherokee author. In 1948, his book On Poe, An American Indian Odyssey, would win a Newbery Honor, which is sort of like the runner-up to winning the Newbery Prize. In 1981, his nonfiction book, The Primal Mind, Vision and Reality in Indian America, would be adapted by PBS into a documentary. And from here, he would serve as a consultant for PBS for multiple years. He would also serve as a consultant for Star Trek The Next Generation when they decided they wanted an indigenous character.
Oh no, and they went with I'm 20% Cherokee guy.
Yeah. Well, and this dude is like, as described, as walking around in Santa Fe chic. He's got the fringe. He's got the feathers. He looks a lot, that movie Billy Jack? He looks a lot like Billy Jack.
No.
And so, sensing some things are a little askew, the Washington Post started looking into this guy in 1984 with the aid of a few other indigenous activists. And they found that his real name is Jackie Marks. And Jackie was actually born in Los Angeles and is an Armenian Jew.
Except the Armenian Jewish community.
Mm-hmm. It's very strong and very, very connected, my friend.
Yes.
Yeah. When the Washington Post asked him, like, hey, we know you're Jackie Marks. Why'd you pretend otherwise? And he's like, well, I thought it'd be easier to break into writing if I pretended I was Cherokee.
And apparently he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, because his books continued to sell very well after this. His time as a consultant for PBS for multiple documentaries about Native American culture happened after this was revealed.
No, Dusty, no.
His consulting for Star Trek was a decade after this happened.
Oh, that's very fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame me no more.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
It's wild. It would be noted by I wish I remember the guy's name that this dude outsold every indigenous writer of the time. He cut off opportunities that many others could have had, and made the point where it's like Jamake Highwater is not a person. He does not exist. It is Jamie Marks, and that is all it is. Yeah, and he kept using his fake pseudonym up until his death, writing as a journalist and still pretending to be Cherokee the whole time. So yeah, there's multiple ways you can go in the New Age and artistic community if you want to either just say, I've learned all these things and now you can learn it, or, I already am, so deal with it.
I mean, the real takeaway is that, like, even PB fucking S at the end of the day, like, does not want your authenticity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like it should have been a really big hint when your book about Native American psychology is called The Primal Mind.
It's awkward.
It's not great. I mean, you're definitely playing into what people want to believe and buy if you're writing that. So in 1992, fate writes an opinion article, and I'm going to paraphrase what it was about here, but it essentially was, hey, New Age folks, why don't you fuck clean off? This culture is not yours. And I have to kind of quote this verbatim because it's just so well written and great. And I really wish I could have found more editorial articles that she wrote because she is brilliant. So her article starts with this. Let's say that one day I walk into a Catholic church and I watch the priests give out communion and baptize a baby. Maybe I'll go back 2 or 3 times. Then I start imitating what I saw. I hand out communion and baptize babies, and I advertise my services on flyers that read, Baptism and Communion Workshop Sunday, conducted by Sister Faith Margaret Mary O'Malley. Cost $100. That would be offensive, right?
Yeah. What if I started marketing the baptism holy water?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
As an elixir.
She would then proceed to give examples of what other people had been doing. So one of the first examples she brings up is a shield workshop, essentially. There's a specific name for it, and I am blanking on it right now. But essentially, it is a Lakota tradition where when you're in your late teens, you create a shield, and on the front of it, you mark it with family symbols and emblems that are important to you and emblems that you've seen in your dreams. It essentially becomes like a very personal late puberty sort of recognition of moving into adulthood, I suppose. And so this one white woman is like, hey, I have a weekend seminar where I'm going to teach you how to make this shield. You can, emblazon the front with symbols that are important to you. And also I'm going to teach you about the importance of the back of the shield. To which Faith said, there is no importance to the back of the shield. It's the back of the fucking shield.
Also, you people have cross stitch and
right?
and like
fucking right.
And those stupid sorority paddles.
We invented crochet and we should be stuck with it. Did we invent crochet?
I don't
look it up.
Oh God.
All right, crochet. It's gonna be hilarious if it's just like was not started by white people. Etymology. Oh, it's French. French Germanic. Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, we got this.
All right. Cool. Okay. Yeah, we invented that terrible art form, so we should stick with it. Do family sigils on that.
No.
So Faith, being the woman that she is, called this woman. It was like, hey, what are you doing? You shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And the woman responded with the old go-to. Oh, I didn't mean to offend anybody.
Ooh, no, she didn't.
And on top of that, she did not commit to canceling the event. Now, Faith said it might have been canceled, but on the phone when they talked, she didn't say she was going to cancel.
Yeah, trusted her if she had.
Yeah. On top of that, there was another event that she had not attended, but had heard about, where a woman in Colorado was running a very intensive healing sort of seminar for a weekend.
But not Reiki, the other one.
No, that's for the other weirdos. But yeah, so she's charging a large amount of money. She didn't say how much, but said it was an extreme amount of money. So some local elders heard about that, and they went to the place where this is going to be held in Colorado, and they're like, we're here for the ceremony. Like, well, you didn't pay for your tickets. Like, well, surely she wouldn't turn away relatives. If she's a true healer like you say she is, she would help her family for free.
Okay, I am here for this level of petty. This is great.
The seminar was canceled the next day and
didn't even
start. It is hilarious and great, and I'm glad they did it.
Yeah, take the money and run out like the Music Man. Just get out.
God, yeah, they're not checking credit cards then.
Nope.
That last story is a really good example of how you can tell a really big red flag if a Native American themed ceremony or seminar is legit or not. If they are charging other Indigenous Americans to go to these seminars, it is bullshit. It is not fucking real. Them even charging money is a pretty big red flag to start with. So Faith would end this article with a really wonderful 1-2 punch. Quote, I know the selling of our rituals by the New Agers comes from a deep emptiness and hunger inside them, a hunger for something more spiritual in their lives. Our rites are connected to the earth, and this appeals to people lost and disillusioned in this material world. I recommend, however, that instead of stealing from us, go deep into your background, be it Catholic or Protestant or Jewish or Italian or Norwegian, and find something there. Go back to your roots and leave ours alone, please.
Yes. I mean, yeah, she's not wrong. Like,
yeah.
I truly believe it's like so much of the problem is just like inherent capitalism.
Yeah, yeah.
We're lost. We're trying to make a buck. We have no connection to the food we eat, the neighbors around us. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about this for a bit too, and it's a weird hypothesis to not excuse it, but I think I might understand at least a basis of why people fuck up with this, at least in a more innocent way. Western religion is very much based on getting everyone to participate and everyone to accept it, whether you understand it or not.
Ooh.
And so I think when these people are confronted with indigenous spiritualism and faith, they're just like, well, obviously you want more people to believe it. So here I am. Here I am ready to believe it. But they're often duped by, as one person put it, the idea that you could fully understand a culture or a faith within a weekend. As this one person put it, I have been spending my entire life trying to understand my spirituality. How are you going to do that in a weekend?
Well, yeah, you see it with the practice of yoga, for example.
Mhm.
It's just like this is something that like people do for like or martial arts trainings. It's this sense of just like the purpose is never to be the best in like some weird movie montage. It's like
Yep.
it is the daily practice.
Yes. Yeah, if you're taking karate to kick someone's ass, I have a hospital you can go to immediately because that's not what you're gonna get. You're gonna get embarrassed and then beat up. But yeah, but if you're there for mindfulness to work on your memorization, to be able to work on your strength, then yeah, you're gonna get what you want to get. But yeah, you're right. It is all about approaching it from a good point of view and understanding,
Mhm.
but also not being mortally wounded and offended when people are like, hey, you're doing this for the wrong reasons. Please stop. This is mine.
The Irish will have you. We've got a whole
Right?
parade.
We got potatoes, we have drinking, we have our distrust of Catholicism now, I guess. I guess that's neo-Irishness.
Who's distrusting Catholic?
I
Well, I
know.
mean,
I mean, Catholicism in Ireland has been dipping.
oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, that
Yeah.
how do you think the country got rich?
Yeah. And you also learn a great lesson about what colors do not match each other.
Orange looks good on no one.
Nope. So, in what I can only assume to be a bit of 1990s trolling, the newspaper invited people to write in with reactions to the piece.
Boo.
And while I can assume that a lot of it is just like, we got to keep things 50-50 so people think that we're completely understanding on this. The articles were printed very much at 50-50. 50% of people supporting faith and 50% of people being very, very mad and butthurt about it. The thing though is that the 50% who are butthurt do not sound like reasonable people.
Sure. Yeah. This is very like the internet has always existed. This is
Yes.
Twitter before it emerged.
My personal favorite of the people who were angry comes from a guy named Clay in Spokane. Or Spokane? I keep forgetting how I'm saying it. Clay from Spokane. Now, he does give his full name, but I'm not gonna fucking say it. And that's because it's very clearly a native-ish nickname that he would have given himself if an internet name generator existed at the time.
Oh no.
And he does admit in his letter it is a name he gave himself, sort of.
Oh boy.
Because one night when he was dreaming, he was given a vision that this should be his real last name. And from there on, that became his full last name.
Okay.
Yeah. And that happened to him 5 years before he wrote into the Spokane review. And then he finished out his article saying, essentially, how dare you claim that the services that I offer are not of the topmost tier? I charge good money to be a Native American for these people.
It's incredible because I also have to like God bless Faith because she's coming up with the generation of my dads who are like weaned on John Wayne movies and the Lone Star Ranger on TV. Like it's one thing where it's like nowadays where we all had to like suffer through Hatchet and that quality book
Yeah.
with that level of quality. But just to be enmeshed in a society where it is a costume and it is essentially your culture because everyone played cowboys and Indians growing up.
Yeah.
Oof.
I love the way she writes too. It's like there are moments where I'm like, that was very fucking mean and I love it. But then it just eases out so easy. Like you're an empty husk of a person and I'm sorry for you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. Feed me. Feed me more.
Yeah, just cutting through the bullshit basically of just like I genuinely feel bad for you.
Right. Yeah, it's that whole thing where like I'm sure the anger's there, but it comes across as like disappointment.
Yes. which is,
Yeah.
oh God, if it's very Great British Baking Show. It's just like this is the hardest thing that could have happened is you
Yeah.
being disappointed with me.
Oh my God. Yeah. And so luckily we don't have to wait long for another Faith Spotted Eagle segment in the Spokesman Review. Because in 1995, Disney's Pocahontas would come out.
Hey-oh.
Yeah. And so I will say she co-wrote this with someone, so she's not the sole writer on this. But I believe the title could very easily be summarized as Disney's Pocahontas can go fuck itself. And in retrospect, Faith is 100% right.
Yeah, it's not a good movie.
It's not. It is most notable as the movie that started to shove Disney animation into a huge slump that ends around at Treasure Island, and then Pixar just kind of pulls up out of the grave.
Yep. I don't know about you. I remember seeing it in the theaters with my mom, and it was the first Disney movie where I was just like, ah.
Same.
And it was definitely like,
100%.
and it was that self-aware moment too of just like, have I aged out of it, or is this not good?
Yeah. It's one of the first movies that I thought to myself, is anything happening?
Oh shit.
Yeah. Like the first movie I knew that was bad was called Camp Nowhere. And that was a devastating moment to be like, movies can be bad, but they're movies. But yeah, to discover what a plot is was very devastating for a young child.
I know, especially because who knows if that was your villain origin story? Because
Right?
now we're both writers.
I used to like Alf, and now I'm confused about why the plot isn't progressing as much as I want it to. Yeah, and so the movie hadn't come out yet, but Faith knew she hated it going into it. And she didn't know this detail, but this detail in particular, if she had have known, would have caused me to want to burn down the studio as soon as possible. So the movie is directed by a guy named Mike Gabriel. And Mike Gabriel had previously directed The Rescuers Down Under. And before that, I'm trying to think, he wrote Oliver and Company. He wrote like a lot of middling Disney animated
Okay.
movies. And so he's in this this pitch meeting that like Eisner and Katzenberg and the like would refer to as like a gong show meeting where you were pitching and they didn't like it, you hit the gong, move on to the next.
There's Coke everywhere. Let's set the scene.
It is just, Mickey Mouse shaped Coke everywhere.
Small talks about how they want to fuck Ariel.
You're doing lines out of Donald Duck straws. It's wonderful. The rule is, though, you have to sound like Donald Duck after you take a bump. So easier said than done.
Good luck.
Yeah. It does become very easy to fight like Donald Duck after it, but so he's in this meeting. He's trying to figure out what he's going to do. He has his pitches, but he has one that the pitch is literally a picture of Tiger Lily from Peter Pan with the word Pocahontas written over top. Now, as those of you who might have seen edited versions of Peter Pan, it is the second most racist movie that Disney has ever done.
Yeah, it's
they did not do Song of the South.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a racist song in the fucking children's movie. The thing I can't get over from it from memory is that Tiger Lily looks very different than every other Native American in that movie. And it is, it's fucked up. It's really fucked up. And so Mike Gabriel is like, yeah, this is the one cartoon Native American I could find, right? Pocahontas over it. And so he goes in there and his pitch is that it's about, quote, an Indian princess who is torn between her father's wishes to destroy the English and her wishes to help the English. It also happened to steal a couple plot points from the animated division's version of Romeo and Juliet that they'd been working on for a while. And the Romeo and Juliet project got canned in favor of Pocahontas. Pocahontas actually holds like a Disney record for one of the quickest green lights that they have ever had. So when it got greenlit, they went through the Disney process of going to the location where it's going to take place so people can go there, draw what's in the area to make everything look pretty. They went down to Jamestown, Virginia. Good luck. And while they were there, they met a woman by the name of Shirley Little Dub Costello McGowan, who is a descendant of the Powhatan people and is a very well-respected historian of their culture. And she agreed that she would help consult with Disney for free, so long as it meant ensuring the historical accuracy of the movie. Now, they would pay her a $500 stipend when she was there, but she was very hardcore about like, I'm doing this for free because you guys better not fuck this up. And then they fucked it up.
Yeah, you should like take the money, get a contract out of it so you can sue later.
Yeah, she would go on to disavow the movie and constantly say that she is disgusted that her name is even associated with it to this day. So some of the historical inaccuracy. Una, do you know of any?
How about all of it? How about just like the romantic relationship between John Smith and Pocahontas.
Look, you were right with all of it. All of it's bullshit.
Just
And yeah, I know there's a talking tree and there's a hummingbird with human-like expressions.
that's why we go
Ignore that.
yeah, that's why we go to the Disney movies.
Right?
That's not it.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the big problems with the romance, like you said, it never happened. But at the time that the movie takes place, John Smith would have been 28 and Pocahontas was 11.
So they moved to Alabama. What of it?
Jesus. It's also good to note that Pocahontas was not her name. It was a nickname that they essentially gave her because apparently she was kind of like a hyperactive brat as a kid.
Love it.
So yeah, and so that was just like her nickname. And a part of it too is like you don't tell people your real name because that might give power, that sort of a thing.
Like the Fae?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. So you had like your
Cool.
public name, but also like the name you say around your family and people you trust and things like that.
I like that.
As far as I know, I might be wrong. Please correct me if I am wrong on that. So essentially, the age that Pocahontas would have been in the movie would have been like, mid 20s. She looks 20s ish, which brings us to problem number 2. She was dead at 21.
Oh.
Yeah. So when she was 17 or 18, a couple colonists in Jamestown kidnapped her and took her to Britain.
Right.
Where she may or may not have been forced into becoming Catholic.
Right.
And married a guy and then died of smallpox at the age of 21.
Yes. Very much, anything in England is going to kill her.
Yeah. And it really makes the sequel Pocahontas 2 Journey to a New World even more fucked up for existing.
There was a sequel?
There is the sequel where she ends up in England to negotiate a peace treaty between the Powhatan and the villain from the first movie, where she meets and falls in love with her new husband, who I believe is played by Billy Zane. It's woefully inaccurate in all regards. I mean, for one, a raccoon survived an ocean voyage.
Yeah.
That's not gonna fucking happen. But also a fun little detail too is the first one ends with Governor Ratcliffe being embarrassed because he's trying to start a war so he can take over the area, but then he's ruined by a moment of "but Daddy, I love him," and he has to go back on the boat and get embarrassed in front of the king. In real life, Governor Ratcliffe was captured in an ambush by the Powhatan. Essentially, the remaining colonists were starving to death, and the Powhatan were like, "All right, fine, come meet us. We'll get you enough food that you can survive again."
Yeah, Jesus, you people are pathetic.
You kidnapped our leader's daughter, and you want food. Yeah. We'll give you food. So they got there. We're essentially given like an ear of corn for everyone. But for John Radcliffe, what they gave him was a terrible evening. So they captured him, tied him to a stake in front of a fire. A number of women showed up and they flayed him with mussel shells.
Ooh.
And after each flay, they would take the skin and throw it into the fire in front of him.
Oh.
Once they had flayed his body, they flayed his face. And then they set him on fire.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
metal
fucked up.
Fuck. Yeah. Yeah. Don't ask too many favors and kidnap someone, you fuckers.
The Catholic Inquisition wishes.
I believe that's called sending a message. So it's one of the most metal ways people have died in history. So aside from that major issue, Pocahontas not being of age, dying before she was the age in the movie, and just the entire movie being fucking made up, Faith had a couple other huge problems. For one, and they were actually both based around how Pocahontas looked, because the movie hadn't come out, so she really couldn't base it on what was said during the movie. She just already knew that Little Dove had completely disavowed the movie and was warning people not to go see it and apologizing. So one of the first issues with the way Pocahontas looked is that, remember that like fringe mini dress that she had?
Oh, yeah.
Faith made a point that if you wore that, you'd kind of be kicked out for being immodest.
Oh.
That it's like immodest, fairly impractical, and is not what anyone would have fucking wore.
There we go.
Also, she found it really interesting that just like Jasmine, you have a character who's dressed very provocatively.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sure, Ariel spent half the movie in a bikini top and fish, but literally every other white character before or after is wearing just layers of dresses.
Yes.
So it is kind of weird that suddenly you have two straight characters of color and they are wearing next to fucking nothing for the time period.
Yes. And just girl bossing.
Yes. But also she kind of made a note that it kind of looks like what Disney did is they took the cuneiform of a white woman, darkened the skin, and changed some facial features.
Mm-hmm.
So as she would put it, Quote, Disney seems to now be advocating that not only should Indian people behave like white Americans, but they also must be shaped like them. So once again, this is also a thing where the newspaper's like, hey, do you agree or should we avoid you in public? Right in. And there was like one creepy dude from Idaho who was like, I've seen a lot of Indian women who look like Pocahontas. Yeah, they're all like frumpy, blah, 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 blah. He put his full name and where he was from in that letter. Yeah, and so the movie, as we all know, did make a lot of money, but compared to the past movies, it wasn't really nominated for that many Oscars. And it, like we said before, it marked the downfall of the Eisner era of Disney movies. And yeah, it does not age well. Not a very good movie in the long run. So she would hold a couple of protests during opening weekend of the film as well. But once again, it really, it was probably good for the moment to do that. But I have a feeling that mid 1990s America were probably just like, what's their fucking problem? Very disheartening, but looking back on it now, yeah, Faith, you're 100% right. You were very correct. So for the rest of the decade, Faith would split her duties between counseling work and taking roles with the Spokane School District. And usually she was working on their Minority and Equity Board during that time. But in 2000, she would be called back to the Yankton Reservation. You remember how the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers flooded the fuck out of over a dozen reservations and destroyed Faith's hometown?
Indeed, I do remember.
So one of the agreements is if you're going to destroy a town, you have to get everyone out before you flood it. That's the main deal. You got to get everyone out, no matter what.
Because otherwise it's a bit of a mass murder.
It's kind of not great. So when construction began, the Corps signed off and said, yep, we got everyone out. No one's still living here. We got them all out. In December of 1999, the area had been dealing with a bit of a drought. Now, it's not a big of a problem. It's the middle of winter. People don't really need water for crops or anything. It's just a dry winter. It's probably going to fix itself at some point in time. But it was dry enough that the levels of the lake were starting to go down. And they got down low enough that you could actually see parts of the village of White Swan that had once been underwater. And specifically, this refers to an Episcopal church that had built in the area in the 40s. And very specifically, I mean the church's graveyard. And ultra specifically, I mean a bunch of bones. Because
my God.
Part of the deal is that you have to remove everyone, living and dead. As the Muscatine Journal of Iowa would state, the removal of bodies from cemeteries and burial grounds was stated as a top priority of the Army Corps of Engineers in the 40s and 50s. But it had become very apparent within a couple of decades that little, if any, of the work to relocate bodies had actually been done at all. By 1966, bones were already starting to wash up on the shore at a number of these lakes.
No, this is a fucking horror movie.
Understandably furious, the Yankton Sioux moved to have the area surveyed to ascertain how many bodies had actually been left behind. And technically, they also had the law on their side for once. In 1990, George H.W. Bush had passed the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, which ordered any indigenous remains or artifacts that were in possession of the federal government had to be returned to their direct descendants. This included federally funded museums as well, so a lot of people had to suddenly get rid of a lot of things that they had stolen, had taken. So since the land was part of Lake Francis Case, that meant that the land was owned by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, meaning they would have to do everything possible to get those bodies back to the Yankton Sioux. And at this point, the Corps then proceeded to be absolute dicks about the whole process. Because for the Corps, the very first worry that they had was that we have to raise these water levels soon because we have flood mitigation plans that we need to keep on track. I mean, also, we have a couple hydroelectric dams that are associated with this, and by our estimations, we could lose up to $4 million in electric power if we don't just, fill this back up.
Yeah, no, get the bodies out. You fucked up once. You had one job. Get bodies out, then flood.
So the Corps proposed an idea of what they could do. The bones have been there. Let's just refill the lake and do a reburial while they're underwater and just move on. Because they're already in a graveyard. We'll just water. You didn't have a problem before. Why'd you have a problem now?
Oh my God.
Like, you're fine when you didn't know about it. Why would you be mad now?
Right. So it's just like, we got caught. What if we get uncaught?
So the Yankton Sioux took this in and countered with a fuck you. Those are our people. And the law says we are allowed to get them. So we're just going to go to the lake and get them and then rebury them ourselves. And the Corps followed this up by playing bureaucracy. Because you see, the letter of the law said that any human remains or objects can only be given to a confirmed direct descendant. And without testing the bodies,
oh my
things
God,
like DNA testing or being able to look into historical records to know who was buried there, they couldn't be returned.
On top of everything else, this is a marginalized community that often doesn't have the so-called required paperwork that is
Yeah.
expected by the majority white community.
Yeah. Fun fact about reservations. The post office addresses that you and I are very familiar with, not super common there. The vast
Right.
majority of population on reservations have PO boxes.
Right.
Back when I was doing my old social service database work, like the Navajo reservation, for their list of Head Start locations, with a number of them, it'd be like smaller communities. And since they really didn't have, numbered streets or anything like that, it would be like a quarter mile from this building that everyone knows in a specific direction. So that's
Mhm.
sort of, but you can get them by like PO boxes and things like that. So yeah, that's 100% great point right there. The other screwy thing is with the wording of the law is that until they found a direct descendant, those bodies are entirely under the ownership of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Mm-hmm.
No,
Yep.
no.
Yep. So it's a whole double fuck where it's like I see it's one of those classic Washington laws where it's like we're fixing something. It's like, oh, you actually made things worse.
It's so much
A
worse.
little better, more worse. So a judge would decide to grant the sue with a restraining order that said the Corps is forbidden from raising the water levels. Plus, they are required to keep the water levels where they are. So they can't just be like, oh, there's a huge snow, the water went up. What are you gonna do? Yeah. So it's good work on the judge's point. And the judge was like, look, I really want you two to come together for a solution on this. I could do my job and I will do my job, but there's a lot going on. And if you guys just settled this between each other without having me get involved, that would just be great.
You know what? I take great offense to that. This is not like a shitty marriage with kids.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Uh-huh. This is like bodies and
yeah.
years of being fucked over.
Yes.
So one of the other things that the judge is like, you guys have to decide on is deciding on an archaeologist to come out to the site and doing a full evaluation of what is there. Because just saying there's bones on the surface will probably not uncover historical graveyards or burial sites or anything like that. So you need to have someone come out there and do their thing. And the Army Corps of Engineers said, yeah, you guys pick an archaeologist, we'll pay for it. Just, go out there and do your thing. So the Yankton Sioux decided to bring in their own archaeologist, a guy by the name of Tom Kapler. Now, Tom's from Iowa, but he's, is pretty well respected in the field. And so he comes out there and he ends up finding about 25 to 30 grave sites by the end of December. The issue, though, is no direct descendants would be able to claim the bodies, and the Corps was getting impatient. It also didn't help that when talking to the Sioux, they weren't able to get a satisfactory timeline for the bodies being removed. The main reason for this is that, Sioux tradition has burial ceremonies and things like that. They had never had to create a reburial ceremony.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And so it was a lot of
boy.
question where it's like, do we just do a burial ceremony? Is that going to be respectful enough? Is like, do we have to bring up the fact that like you've been underwater and neglected for all these years? Maybe we should acknowledge that and then do the burial. Should we do a ceremony when we unbury you and then rebury? Yeah. And so there was a lot of people trying to figure out like, we've never had to do this, so we should talk around and figure it out. But yeah, the Corps is getting really impatient with this. And there was a bit of concern that the Corps might just, decide to take things in their own hands. Mm-hmm. So the Yankton Sioux decided they were going to set up an encampment along the banks of the lake to make sure that no funny business occurred. And this is where Faith returns to Lake Andes. She ends up joining the encampment and acts as a bit of a press secretary whenever like a quote needed to be had while everyone else was, doing their thing. And so she essentially became a bit of a spokesman for the movement. By January 11th, 2000, more than a month after the bodies were revealed, both sides were still deadlocked. The Army Corps had chosen to block the Yankton Sioux's choice of an archaeologist from the site, believing that Tom Kapler didn't have the proper state permits to do the work that he had to do. They also didn't look into whether or not he had the permits or not. They just had a feeling he didn't, so he was barred from the site. Not only that, but they brought in their own archaeologist who claimed that amongst the bones that had been discovered, he only found a single stone tool, so there really wasn't any indication that there was anything else. Kapler in particular was pissed by this accusation, though, because during his mapping of the area, he'd been able to find multiple stone tools, a number of baby coffins, and a full fucking skeleton.
Ah.
Yeah. So Faith would make the point that during the whole process, the tribe felt like they were being constantly lied to by the government, which, name a more iconic pair.
Oh.
Even earlier in the year, the Clinton government had freshly fucked the tribes in the area. So when the initial Missouri Basin Project had gone into action and they did eminent domain over all these places, they did a little too much eminent domain. They wanted to make sure they got all of the lake and didn't fuck up, so they went beyond where they thought the lake would go. Now, typically you would think like, oh, they took a little extra, so they're just going to give it back to the reservation. Of course they didn't. The U.S.
Whoa,
Army Corps of Engineers kept that land for themselves for about 50 years, give or take.
that's core town now.
Yeah. And so in 1999, the Clinton administration was faced with like this issue of like, we should do something about this. And their plan was to take that Army Corps of Engineer land that had been taken from the reservations and give it to the states. So that's now state land, motherfucker.
No, the same states that can't even like distribute Medicare aid.
Nope. Plus, I'm pretty sure that's a direct violation of the treaties of the reservations that state where the fucking lines are, and to
Well,
just
you
suddenly
said
give
name a
that shit
more
to the state.
iconic duo,
Yep.
and you just did.
Up until 1999, they continue to lower the size of reservations.
Ah,
Essentially, when they did that, they pretty much definitively ensured that these tribes would never get their land back whatsoever. But luckily, on January 12th, a federal judge decided that enough was enough and he's gonna rule on this whole clusterfuck since clearly no one's gonna make a decision. And essentially, the Yankton Sioux got everything they wanted. The judge said, take as much time as you need to get everyone out of there and reburied. The Army Corps of Engineers has to keep the water level low. Doesn't matter for how fucking long, just as long as you're not like purposely delaying.
right.
And during this time, the Army Corps of Engineers just took one last final blow and accused Todd Kaplan of lying about what he found on the burial site. Todd's very depressed reaction to this was essentially saying that the Missouri River Basin Trench is one of the most archaeologically significant areas in America, to which I assume he just sighed very deeply after that and then just walked away to have a cigarette.
Yeah, Ben Affleck meme the whole way.
Yep, sure, I made it up. I made up baby coffins. That's my job as a respected archaeologist.
Right, that's what we do.
So the bodies would eventually be removed from the site 8 days later. It took 8 days for them to take their time to find everything that they could.
And
the Army Corps of Engineers had stalled for over a fucking month.
Like the length of a Beatles song. 8 days.
Yep. And so the bodies would officially be reburied on February 19th. And this whole struggle seems to be the impetus that convinced Faith that she had to move back to Lake Andes. She would return in 2001, and she did what she always does and just showered people with good deeds and kindness. She would found the Braveheart Society, an org that is still in operation today, with a focus on supporting youth on the reservation. The society would bring back the Isnadi coming of age ceremony for young women, funded intertribal lacrosse games, and offered language lessons in Dakota and Lakota. Another thing that white people stole from Native Americans, lacrosse, a sport that used to be very brutal and kind of amazing.
It's now associated with boys named Chad.
Oh, it's the sport I learned at Choate. It was wonderful. I met all my best connections playing lacrosse. And Faith got to enjoy a full year of calm before the government decided to be fucking assholes all over again due to the same issue, just a different place. In the city of Pixton, the State Wildlife Bureau, I believe, or the Game Recreation Wildlife Bureau, was creating a new building for campground registrations at a public recreation area. Partway through digging, they found bones, which means construction was halted, and archaeologists predicted that, when you find a bone and it's not a murder, there's going to be more bones. The state of South Dakota, though, would disagree, stating that while burials had clearly occurred there, that the number of potentially buried people was insignificant to halt construction permanently. The state would also accuse one of the construction workers, who was Lakota Sioux, of planting bones to stop construction.
Come on.
Look, if there's anything people love, it's ensuring that they can't get paid for work.
I'm trying to turn this into a joke about their state attorney and his
Oh
driving
God,
record.
Yeah.
But there's no joke because that's just a terrible situation.
True. And former state's attorney.
Yes, finally.
So a year of halting construction later, and the state agreed to allow the bones to be returned to the Lakota Sioux. But the problem was that the tribe wanted to take their time to excavate properly. And the state said, no, we have a better idea. Why don't we just take this backhoe and just dig up everything, and then you could sort it from there.
I don't know. Why don't you ask Rome why they haven't done that for any of their subway systems?
Yeah. Typically, this would be a part where people would be like, no, this is a bad idea. Here's our counter. The state stated they were not going to budge on this. It's either you let us use the backhoe to dig up where we think the burial site was, or you get nothing, which meant a protest formed. And during this protest, Faith would be there, because of course she is. Also, another reason for the protests starting up was probably because the state tried to resume construction due to the tribe, quote, taking too long and just getting impatient with the legalities of all of it. So, of course, people had to be there to make sure that you weren't just suddenly building a
Oh my God.
registration center on top of a burial ground.
Ew.
The state would respond to this by trying to ban protesting at the site, which you might
What?
remember is something they did after the Dakota Access Pipeline protests.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which Faith was
What First
present
Amendment?
for.
What
Yeah.
water rights?
Yep. In the end, the state would lose, thanks to a very unexpected hero, an archaeologist with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I
What?
think someone different was in charge, and that was what happened here. So the state's constantly saying, it's like, yeah, there's bones, but there's not a bunch of them. And the archaeologist from the Army Corps of Engineers went out there. It's like, I found 2 skulls today. Why don't you fuck off? Literally found
Hey.
2 full skulls. It's like, all right, we're nah.
Ugh.
Yeah. This would end up getting the state to back off, and once again, the bodies were allowed to be excavated with patience and reburied with dignity. But Una, I know what you're thinking. This
Yeah,
is
I'm
a political.
thinking.
Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I'm thinking we need to bring back like curses, like old school like I curse thee
Yeah.
curses. We need to bring back hauntings because the state of South Dakota is not scared enough.
Apple Podcasts would probably ban me for anything I would say in regards to it, so I'll just move on to the next paragraph.
All right.
And yeah, we're a political podcast. So we should probably talk about the time that Faith Spotted Eagle decided to run for office. In 2006, she would run in the Democratic primary for the state house in the 21st district. In these primaries, and primaries across the state, it's a top 2 finish for each primary. So top 2 in the Republican, top 2 in the Democrat, move on to a best of 4, and then the top 2 of that ends up becoming state representatives. She ends up being one of 3 people who run for the seat and ends up finishing 3rd with 26.2%. Now, she would state in the future that the reason this happened was that a friend of her had convinced her to run, but she really did not want to. So when she ran, she wasn't campaigning. She didn't have a website. She wasn't actively going out and shaking hands or anything. She just had her name on the ballot. And if she got through, great. And if not, stay la vie. So following this, Faith went back to her social work. People fucked less with cultural remains and things got to be quiet for a while until February 17th, 2014. Around this time, TransCanada, which is an energy company north of the border, had announced a new expansion to their international Keystone pipeline. It currently ran from the tar sand fields in Alberta down to Texas, but the route was a bit wonky. Essentially, it starts in Alberta, then it goes due east for a while, and then it shoots down through North Dakota all the way down to Nebraska and Illinois, and then off to Texas. It's just kind of it's a very 90-degree route. And so Keystone is like, you know what? Maybe we should just have a second route that's more direct. Just go straight from Alberta all the way to our station in Steel City, Nebraska, and it'll save us a ton of fucking time. We just cut through Tana, South Dakota, and Nebraska. It'll be fucking great. We're going to call it the Keystone XL pipeline because it's extra large, America. You'll love it. The problem, though, well, there were multiple problems with this Keystone pitch.
Yeah.
For one, it kind of went through national landmarks. In particular, the Sandhills of Nebraska, which in 1984 was listed as a national natural landmark. It was just going to plow right through those.
Oh boy.
Another thing is it was going to go straight over the Oglala Aquifer, which is one of the biggest aquifers in the entire fucking world, and essentially gives water to Nebraska.
Yeah.
But also, the pipeline had a bit of a habit of going straight through or straight around reservations. It's like kissing right up on the edge. Just perfect for an oil spill of some sort that could, I don't know, ruin everything. Funny enough, one of the routes that it had is it would actually take it over a bridge of one of the lakes that were created by the Missouri Basin Project. And if any oil got into that, you ruin the water supply for the entire reservation.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
To say nothing of eminent domain on eminent domain. It's just just cubed. It's so much.
It's fucked up. Well, here's the other fucked up thing. I didn't put this in, but Canada was essentially company was calling for eminent domain for this project, mainly because the government had approved it, so they had some ways to do it. TransCanada, though, went about things in a very Pinkerton sort of manner, where they would go to the property, whether it had been seized with eminent domain or not, whether people had decided to leave or not. And if they hadn't, people would be arrested on their own property. Yeah, it's a bad company, bad people to give a lot of money to. So one of the big things with especially with the Lakota Sioux population is, you can't really destroy our water. You've already destroyed our fields. You took our towns and our villages, and now if this thing fucks up, it's going to cause an oil spill that's going to ruin the groundwater, and not to mention the soil. So a lot of protests would start over this. The frustrating thing I found is that there's a guy named Bill McKibben who appears to be like a millionaire environmentalist. And he ends up getting a lot of the credit for getting the Keystone XL pipeline shut down.
Of course.
He's the one who led all those major protests in DC and Chicago and New York. He did like the big walk for a Saturday protests, while a lot of indigenous folks and people who are in the communities were doing the hard work in public in front of all of these business folks and construction people and security.
Yeah, literally life on the line work.
But I have to do a Cliff Notes version on this. I'd have to do like 3 episodes just on this pipeline if I wanted to get into the nitty gritty. So in 2015, Barack Obama pulls the permits from TransCanada, and TransCanada decides, I'm going to sue America for $15 billion.
Bitch, good luck. We're broke.
Well, it worked out for them because in 2017, Donald Trump would renew the permit. But then it didn't work out for them because in 2021, Joe Biden canceled them again. And TransCanada got so fed up with the idea that, like, hey, they could cancel this at any point. They abandoned it. And the Keystone XL pipeline is dead. It will never return.
We win on a penalty.
Yay, I'll take it. I will take a victory at any goddamn point here. So Faith would be ever president of the local protests for these things, and it's where she would end up meeting a man by the name of Robert Sadiacum Jr. Robert was a radio host and a member of the Puyallup tribe in Washington. And like so many others before him, he met Faith and just adored her. It's from what I've read, she has a personality that, like, once you start talking to her, you just like you're just like in a warm blanket of conversation. And so even after he returned home from the protests, he would remember her passion for protecting the water supply and her people. Fast forward to December of 2016. By this point, the 2016 election was not great.
No.
So Trump wins, and there's a bit of is Pyrrhic the right word? Like a sad and doomed campaign, or is a Pyrrhic campaign one where you win but you hurt yourself? Yeah, Pyrrhic campaign is you win and you hurt yourself.
You win, but the losses you sustained in winning are such that, like, it's almost a net neutral. It's right. Like, it's so bad.
So Pyrrhic's not the right word. I think I was going for pathetic. The Resist Democrats go about a very pathetic campaign of like, maybe we can convince some of Donald Trump's electors to vote for Hillary Clinton instead. Because for the new listeners who are not used to American politics, we don't actually vote for president. We vote for the people who will vote for president, or electors. And these electors ideally are hardcore dyed-in-the-wool supporters of the person running for president. So no matter what, they're going to go to the Electoral College election. They're going to put in their vote for the candidate that you voted for because you voted them in, and all said and done, everything's fine. The 2016 election would not go that way. A couple of Republicans would end up changing their vote, not to Hillary, though. One would change his vote to Governor of Ohio, John Kasich, and another changed his vote to Congressman Ron Paul.
Ooh.
As for the Democrats, they had a very atypical number of faithless electors split from Hillary Clinton. 3 would end up voting for Republican Secretary of State Colin Powell. One in particular, she voted for Colin Powell for president and Susan Collins for vice president. And I hope that person just is never happy.
Yeah. I hope you forever have a cut on the flap of finger between your index and thumb.
Yep. It's just like the forward party will welcome you and you're not going to have fun. As for the other Democrats, there was one who ended up voting for Senator Bernie Sanders because, of course, one person had to.
Right.
And then there's Robert. And Robert had been chosen as an elector for the state of Washington, and he was not shy at all on how much he disliked Hillary Clinton. Up until about a week before the election.
No one ever is. They're never shy about it.
Oh, no. He outright called her a criminal on multiple occasions. It's like, look, I'm not the biggest fan. I don't think she's done crime.
She hasn't. Also, I guess joke's on you.
Crime,
congrats.
That doesn't mean
you did get a criminal.
Right. She's not a criminal by the transitive property. It's not how it fucking works. But so he's sitting there ready to cast his vote. He, wasn't really sure what he was going to do, but for about a week prior, he'd been telling people, I'm just going to write in Bernard Sanders. What are they going to fucking do? And so he goes to write down Bernie and he stops. And he thinks for a little bit, is like, all right, maybe I should just write down water as like a symbolic vote for like the water protectors and things like that to like keep this in the press for a little bit.
Wanking motion.
Yeah. And then he was like, I prayed because I was like, I don't really know what decision to make in this moment. And after praying, he just like kind of starts writing without even thinking. And after writing halfway through, he realized, oh yeah, this is perfect. This is a really good faithless elector vote. So a little later in the day, Faith is driving her daughter to the airport when she gets a call. And it's a reporter asking her how she feels about making history. Faith asked him what he meant, and apparently Robert had written in her name and made her, along with Hillary Clinton, the first woman to get an electoral vote as president. She handed the phone to her daughter and said, I think this is a prank. So her daughter Brooke talks to the guy for a little bit and she's like, no, I think this is real. And especially when they find out, it's like, it's Robert. And she's like, oh, he probably did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so Faith Spotted Eagle gets an electoral vote from Washington.
Good for her.
Yeah.
I don't like how she got the vote with like God beaming down upon Robert's angelic forehead.
You know, it reminds me a lot of the John Quincy Adams's first race against Andrew Jackson, where we'll get to that one day, but essentially no one got a majority in the Electoral College, so the vote had to go to Congress to decide who was going to be president. And a dude prayed, and when he looked down, he saw a slip for John Quincy Adams between his legs. And the apocryphal story is that someone just wrote that down and slipped it between his legs and hoped he'd fall for it.
That makes sense to me. Yes.
Yep. We've always had bad people in Congress. There's always at least a couple. So yeah, so for his faithless vote, Robert would be fined $1,000 or half an assault in South Dakota in the 70s. Also, faithless elector laws would be tightened nationwide, but that's a story for another time. In 2018, Faith would make one last run for office, once again running in the Democratic primary for the state house in the 21st district. This time, though, she would actually campaign, essentially saying that I've grown as a woman. I really wasn't prepared then, but I feel more ready right now to actually seriously do this. However, things turned out just the same, at least kind of. So once again, Faith would finish third out of three with 21.1% of the vote. That is until her opponent, Brian Jorgensen, who only missed winning by one vote, dropped out, which meant there was an open spot. Third place gets the open spot. Faith Spotted Eagle moves to the general primary election.
Yeah.
Or the general election. What am I talking? General election. The problem, though, the 21st district is heavily Republican, and a lot of the same racial issues that her father faced in the 50s still very much exist to this day.
Yeah, nothing's changed in that state.
She would end up finishing a distant fourth, even behind the third place Democrat, with 11.7% of the vote, which is still pretty fucking respectable. But that's not quite all. In 2019, the Washington State Senate was working on electing the Senate Pro Tempore, which is typically an honorific title set aside for either the oldest member of the majority party or like the person who served the longest. It's like an honorary sort of thing. And the nice prize is that you get to run the state Senate when the lieutenant governor has other shit to do, which is almost never, because the lieutenant governor almost never has other presiding issues. And so it's day one. They're voting on this, and both parties would end up endorsing centrist Democrat Tim Sheldon. He'd caucused with the Republicans a few times, and I think they both kind of agreed that, you know, this is the perfect guy to run it. He has no real alliances or biases on the other side. If he has to run shit, he'll probably be fair. And so Lieutenant Governor Brad Owen, who actually was in his last hour of the job before the new guy took over, was just kind of rushing shit through. And he was like, all right, let's save some time. Everyone likes Tim. Yay or nay? Everyone votes yay. But then Republican Senator Mike Baumgardner had a point of order, to which he said, I think we actually have to say who we're voting for. We have to say his name one by one for it to be an official vote. We can't do yay or nay on this. And Lieutenant Governor is like, you're right. You're technically correct. As they say in Futurama, the best kind of correct. I was just trying to hurry shit up, save us some time. To which Baumgardner said, quote, I'd like to change my vote to Faith Spotted Eagle then.
Is he just being a needly little prick right now? What's like...
Yes, I think he is. He's like, he's being kind of a needly little prick to a dude who already has one foot out the door.
Like, you also could just go to lunch.
It's like, I 80% believe that, 20% he was trying to be funny.
Okay. Otherwise he sounds like the kid who's just like, you forgot to assign us homework tonight.
Yep. Sadly, Faith would end up losing to Tim Sheldon 48-1. He didn't do like a recount where it's like, okay, everyone say your name. It was just like, anyone else? No. Fine.
Like, happy hour is almost over, people.
Motherfuckers, I am due at an Applebee's in 26 minutes. And since then, Faith has continued to work closely with the Yankton Sioux Reservation and indigenous communities. One of her big things in 2019, she led a campaign to get Pipestone National Monument to stop selling replica indigenous pipes.
Hey.
She's currently a member of the Hanktawan Treaty Steering Committee, overseeing the legal sovereignty of the Yankton Reservation. But on top of that, she's a literal history maker. When she received her electoral vote, it was met with a mix of comedy and outright scorn. I don't know if you're familiar with Matthew Iglesias.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, he was the co-founder of Vox and is a perpetual motion machine of just really bad takes.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it. It feels like an art project sometimes that he's just trying to be the worst, but in the most dinner party sort of ways.
Yeah, and it's always Hillary related too. Like
Yeah.
it's to the point where it's just like you need new material, man.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah, it's that crow telling jokes meme.
Oh, I
Um,
love that one.
but this time with Faith Spotted Eagle winning an electoral vote, Matt decides to chime in with it with an old quote, which I'm going to paraphrase: that if you're an electoral voter of a losing party, you might as well vote for the silliest name you can think of.
No,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Yeah. Faith would respond to this by essentially saying, "Yeah, I doubt he thinks I'm a person anyway." So
That's that's incredibly mature of you, Faith.
yeah,
Because I just would have
her
turned
whole
around
life
and
has
been
been
like,
nothing but fucking maturity after that turkey job. It's
I just like,
she saw into the soul of a dying turkey and is like, "Yep, I'm good."
oh my God. Yeah, because like as someone whose full name cannot be said without sounding like you're trying to do a Lucky Charms imitation.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
how do you not turn around and be like Iglesias? Like,
Yeah.
did your fingers hit the wrong thing on the keyboard when
Yeah.
you were first making your name and then you just decided to go with it? Like,
Yeah.
every name is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I will say the O'Leary marshmallow is easily my favorite in the box.
It's so tasty.
But yeah, it's like my birth name is Dustin. It's not a good name. Like my full name is only good if I'm a backup quarterback in a high school Texas football. That's about as
Right.
far as Dusty Wilson can get you in this world.
It also reminds me of the brief time I was part of the student body government at Oberlin. And it, like, you want to talk about like the United Colors bent on names. It's like, this is how we all got voted in.
Yeah,
Everyone looked and was just like,
best name.
that's
Bam.
a weird name. Cool.
Yeah. Especially just the mockery of Native American names really drives me fucking nuts. Part of me thinks it's jealousy, but it's also just people being dicks. It's just
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's that holdover of like Lone Ranger appropriation culture, where it's just like none of it was taken seriously then.
right.
And
Yeah. I'm sorry the translation to English doesn't sound pretty to you.
right.
Like someone with the last name Williamson, oh, it means the son of William. Fucking great. Great job. Peak cleverness. You did it. I'm sure Iceland is proud, William Williamson. Anyway, yeah. So it is really, really frustrating that was like a reaction that a lot of people had. Is that, an indigenous woman gets an electoral vote. And, instead of just being like, that's a unique thing that we should be happy that not just one, but two women end up getting to make history in the same day.
Yeah.
Whether or not you agree with the reasoning behind it, it's still really fucking cool. But of course, people want those quick knee jerk reactions. And those are the jokes that have been around since Westerns started, if not before.
Yeah. The clickbait culture.
Exactly. Yeah. But, the thing is, I don't think you can go forward and acting like that electoral vote still wasn't earned because Faith has lived her whole life trying to help people as much as she can. She's risen to every challenge presented to her and overcome to degrees at which, if I did half as much, I'd be 10 times as proud. And, I fully expect her name to be kept alive as a bit of trivia or footnote, or like if you want to be a dick at a party and just like when it's just like when you're done finishing your 20-year scotch and it's just like, hey, but you didn't know about this. But
I do want to be that person, Dusty.
yeah, look, I miss drinking scotch in public. But the fact of the matter is even I did this back then, where it's just like I did the bare minimum of looking up who this person was, and it was just like, oh, protester, okay, fine, and just left it at that. But the more I learned about this person, the more just overcome with how fucking awesome they are, just blew me away. And it's, I think it's a really good lesson that it's always good to research people and it's always good to look into why someone felt the need to just completely buck the system and say, no, this is someone who deserves acknowledgement and credit for what they've done. And why I personally think that when we talk about Hillary Clinton as hitting this milestone, I think you kind of have to bring up Faith Spotted Eagle as well. Yeah, she didn't win any states. I get it. But they're two different stories that are equally important to tell. And you can learn so much from both and be inspired by both. I'm going to get off the soapbox because I was just ranting for a little bit. But yeah, so that's, and Faith is still alive. She's still living in Lake Andes. She's still working very closely with the Braveheart Society. And I would assume probably also with the White Buffalo Calf Women's Center as well. But yeah, it seems like she's kind of, settling in after a life of hard work. She's currently in her 70s and just still going strong. Oh, and a fun thing I forgot to bring up. Her and her mom reconnected.
Oh,
Yeah, it was I believe like a year or two after her mom attained sobriety, and they ended up reconnecting and actually developing a bit of a relationship for a while.
gosh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, it's just a really beautiful story. Yeah, if you find it in your hearts, I mean, definitely check out the Braveheart Society and the White Buffalo Calf Women's Society. They are accepting donations. I am sure they need them because, reservations don't always get the best social service funding. The typical thing they will get is a bunch of missionary Christians will show up for about a week, and then that's if they can't convert you, they're gone.
Ugh.
So yeah, definitely if you're looking for some stuff to donate to at the later end of the tax season, there's no other organization that I think could do better. Especially, nonprofits aren't exactly known for people doing the hard work and spending the money wisely. And this would be a great use of your funds. But yeah, Una, what do you think of the story of Faith Spotted Eagle?
Oh my gosh, this was so I agree on all points of digging in and getting to learn the people who don't actively seek the spotlight and therefore are probably doing more of the hard work.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. That's an extremely good way to put it.
I also just appreciate this wonderful episode touching on the two women who made electoral history as a really nice palate cleanser for the fascist soft touch that we're seeing in Italy and probably further across Europe in the coming years. Because that's definitely the recipe of like get some hard right politics, but then dress it up in a lady. And now it's progressive, you guys. It's a woman.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm very excited to be girl bossed in the future. Like when Carly Fiorina or like one of the, I don't know, DeVosses, like Betsy DeVos' president.
Oh no, we can't end on this note.
No, we won't. We had a good fun story. I'm not gonna ruin this. But yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed that story. I don't know why I'm blanking right now. It's been a long day.
I would say to those out in the ether, instead of buying tchotchkes at some tchotchke type trading store in the UP, maybe learn the Native American language instead.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Do
the work.
Save a dying language. Learn it quickly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, thank you all for joining us for this episode. I don't know. This might be a spoiler for the next one, but I feel like we might be diving into one of our patented long stories, talking about a big ass deal in the world of third party politics and just delightful weirdos.
Let's sink into the mud.
Indeed, we're just gonna live in the strange ideas. But yeah, so we'll see you next week here on Gadfly. Gonna go find that mouse. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?